How's it going, Ruth?
Good, good.
Is that your Tetley there?
You know what? It actually is. It's decaf.
Oh, okay.
Decaf Tetley. It's almost the real thing. And sadly, it's got oat milk.
Oh, okay.
It's California tea.
Yeah, you've been spending a little bit too much time in LA, I guess. It's time to go back home, right?
But I just had a bit of Cadbury's chocolate, so I'm kind of...
Okay.
I'm evening it out.
Yeah. It really does taste different.
Oh, yeah, it does. And then if you actually have a cup of tea in Scotland, because our water is so good, like Canadian water, I think, it tastes even better.
Well, you'll be coming to Toronto soon, so you'll be able to have a good cup of tea. And we have some excellent Tetley as well, so...
Exactly. You know, it's always because I spend a lot of time in Vancouver. It's great because you do have a lot more of the biscuits and things. You have a lot more British influence.
Yeah, it's
in your
true.
food chain. You do, yeah.
Yo, welcome to My Summer Lair. I'm your host, Sammy. I always like it when Dean calls his brother Sammy Younan. You've recently seen Scottish actor Ruth Connell on Dead Boy Detectives, the first season streamed on Netflix. For 8 episodes of the Neil Gaiman adaptation, she played Night Nurse, a character who was introduced in a Doom Patrol episode. And I gotta say, Doom Patrol is quirky, clean fun. I'd never read any of the comics, but yeah, that show offered some delightful moments. Speaking of delightful moments, you probably know Ruth best as Rowena on Supernatural. For over 30 episodes, she played an extremely powerful witch and the mother of the demon Crowley. After going to hell, Rowena became the queen of hell, the new queen of hell. I'm telling you, I just don't get weird folks on this fine program. I score top shelf guests like the queen of hell. How could you not want to subscribe to a program that books the queen of hell? Thank you to all my subscribers, by the way.
Hey, Dean, wait a second. Who are you?
Spell's progressed, I see.
I wanted intel, Rowena, not a house call.
Well, I have a feeling you'll come to thank me.
Your hair, it's all so bouncy.
Why, thank you. Do we have to fix him?
Rowena.
Samuel, those glyphs you found are an archaic form of Celtic. MacLeod. The Druids used it in their rituals, calling it the language of the trees.
Wait, now the trees are talking?
That was an audio clip from Regarding Dean, a Supernatural episode, Season 12, Episode 11. In my conversation with Ruth, I highlighted this specific episode because it best encapsulates Rowena. The witty one-liners, the smug hustle. There's a lot going on after a powerful family of witches have cast a spell on Dean that's sadly quickly erasing his memory. As funny as that episode is, Dean is going to die unless Sam and now Rowena step in to help. While I cover Dead Boy Detectives and I cover Supernatural and this episode regarding Dean, I also talked to Ruth about 2 vital Scottish elements. Tea. Of course, tea. Part of me almost skipped the whole Supernatural thing and just wanted to focus on the tea. And this crucial detail. Ruth was born in Falkirk and raised outside Bonnybridge. And of course, the Falkirk Triangle averages about 300 UFO sightings per year. It's a well-known UFO hotspot. Of course, I had to ask her, have you seen anything? That's the first time I'd ever met somebody from that area. And she said her grandmother saw something. Yo, that's something we're talking about some more over tea. I wish I had some more time. Tea and UFOs shouldn't be rushed. If there's one takeaway from this episode, I guess that would be it. Tea and UFOs shouldn't be rushed. In a way, they're both so strange and so magical that they are supernatural. Another person worth inviting to a tea party is Stephanie, and she's here with the introduction. Hit it.
Sound, the final frontier. My Summer Lair is an enterprise, a pop culture voyage with a continuing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new creators and celebrate established producers, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And now here is your host Sammy Younan.
We are going to talk about Supernatural, of course, a TV show where dark and weird things happened all the time.
Yeah.
But first, we got to talk about UFOs because you were born in Bonnie Ridge.
Oh,
Yeah, right? So
that's true, yeah.
the Falkirk Triangle in Scotland, that's said to have about
Yes.
300 UFO sightings annually.
Yes.
Have you seen anything? Have any of your friends or family seen anything? Has anybody been abducted?
Yes. Yes. It's a funny thing. Billy Buchanan, who's our local councillor and personality, he's been a real stalwart of the UFO publicising. Yeah, I mean, part of it, you think it's going to maybe there's some humour around it now. And if you go to the library in Bonnybridge, there are pictures and paintings that lots of kids have done of UFOs, yeah, up on the wall. I actually do know 2 people who would not be likely suspects to make things up or be sensationalistic in that way. And this was when I was a little girl. My neighbour said he saw something. I could do an impersonation of him, but people might not understand the accent. I've just seen a flying saucer. Anyway, and actually my grandma said she saw some strange lights in the sky one night. And this was years before it became a popular phenomenon. So I do actually, I'm open to it. And I do think if there's ever World War III, which hopefully we're not heading for just now, I would always just head back to that triangle. I'd head back to my farm and they could beam me up from there.
Oh, that's a good backup plan. Yeah.
My plan.
Yeah. Would they beam you up with a lot of Tetley as well? Because you need the tea as well, right? Like, who knows what they have in space? Tetley
and Cadbury's, and I'd be away with them in a flash.
Yeah. So you mentioned like when you go to Vancouver and British Columbia, it's very like British adjacent just because we're in Canada.
Yeah.
TV viewers recently saw you as night nurse in Dead Boy Detectives, which of course shot in British Columbia. Supernatural was shot all over British Columbia as well. So emotionally, like, can you describe what it's like to return to British Columbia to keep making more TV as you go back for like Dead Boy Detectives after all that time in Supernatural, right?
Yeah, it's home from home. And at one point, my mum and her husband, Chris, they were on a tour and a cruise and a tour, and they happened to be in Vancouver at the same time at one point. And when they got there, they said to me, "Are you sure you wouldn't like to move here?" I think of all the places I've worked or been, I think they kind of loved it the most. I love going there, and I've got some good friends there that I love to catch up with, people who worked on the show, and we stay in touch. And we just had dinner on the Sunday night. We were at the Fan Expo convention in Vancouver, and it's wonderful. And the weather's so familiar. Living in Los Angeles, I do miss the rain. I can't believe I'm saying that. But then you go to Vancouver. And
yeah, there's a gray vibe to it, right? Which is like, they're used to it. Like me coming from Toronto, I'm like, yo, where's the sun?
Yeah. And I've been to Toronto. I've been all across Canada now because of conventions, and which I'm so grateful for. The places that I've seen, Calgary and Winnipeg and Saskatchewan and all these places. And Toronto's one of my favorite places to come to. It's a great city, and it's become so vibrant in the last 5 years of kind of not refurbished, but they've done so much for the city up, haven't they? It's incredible.
Yeah, we cleaned it up a little bit. In terms of the conventions, are you surprised or delighted by the creativity of the fan questions? Especially the Supernatural fans. They are so passionate and they ask really clever questions.
Yeah. They come up with details now that I think, I'm pretty good at my research. I take my research quite seriously, but it could never be as thorough as the fans. And I've definitely learned things from them. The really interesting time when we had the strike on and we weren't allowed to really reference the show, we were still allowed to go and meet the fans. Some of the questions then were so imaginative. And even to this day, I don't know how many conventions I've done at this point, but to this day, somebody will come up with an original question, and that's always really impressive. You have to put like a $1 in the swear jar if somebody asks you what the best prank was, because that's the number one question. So anybody coming to Toronto, don't ask us that.
Okay, good to know. I mean, you are shooting a very serious show, right? It's mostly serious and dark show. I know Rowena had a lot of great one-liners, but for the most part, it is dark. So
dark, but it has its tongue in its cheek.
So I want to ask you, though, with your theater background, like where writers tend to be more sacred, like what was your relationship like with the Supernatural writers?
Oh, thank you for asking me that. I consider them to be my friends. I really love writers coming from a theatre background, and just writers in general, I think, can be the brightest people. And they don't tend to, there's a certain personality type that might go with being a producer or being a director, but there's something about writers where they're the intellectuals and they're the kind of the purists of our world, and they're so clever and witty and wonderful human beings. And I consider them, I hope, they consider me a friend too. Steve Yockey took me from Supernatural and put me in Doom Patrol, which Jeremy Carver also was a part of, and that led to The Night Nurse.
Yeah, like a backdoor pilot.
Yeah, and Bob Behrens and Jenny Klein, all the, Meredith Glynn, who gave me lots of advice about breastfeeding.
Okay. I don't know about breastfeeding, but I recently rewatched Regarding Dean, which is a very great Rowena episode. Like, I know you got to do a lot of other things in the show, but that's very like Rowena. The one-liners, the tongue-in-cheek you're talking about, like, oh, fine, I'll help Dean, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I thought Jensen did a beautiful job in that. To me, that's a classic example of Supernatural where there's pathos. He's losing his memory, and for me, that was quite poignant. But then there's also the kind of physical comedy that he's doing, and as you said, some of Rowena's one-liners. It was a lot of fun filming that episode. There was a part where Jared, I had a voiceover, but the director had me say it in real time, not as a voiceover, and Jared put matchsticks to keep his eyes open because it was taking so long for me to say it. So I have very fond memories of filming that show, that particular episode.
It sounded like he pranked you on that one then, if you're talking about the pranks. Yeah.
Exactly.
So last question as we're wrapping up. I know there was a big announcement recently, like there's a mini Supernatural reunion on The Boys, where the actual boys will be all reuniting on that show. But you and Mark Shepard, who are both going to be at Toronto Comic Con, you're both in this movie coming up called X's, which is directed by Matt Cohen, who was also on Supernatural. Yes. I think he did an episode or two. So all three of you are like Supernatural people. So what can you tell me about that movie?
X's, so we're, Matt Cohen, as you said, did quite a few episodes of Supernatural. He then directed some. He's done so many of the conventions. That's where we really become this kind of big, crazy, dysfunctional family. That we all spend a lot of time together. And so Matt, sent a message, would I be interested? And it was an immediate yes. I'm a big fan of his. He's such a bright guy, and he's tries so hard, and he's really pushing to really do something and make something.
I think this is his first feature film too, right?
Well, yeah, he did a film before called Mama Bear, a short, which did incredibly well, which was really fantastic. So I think building upon that. I don't know what I'm allowed to say, so I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
Ask Mark Shepard. He'll talk more.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be fun because both of you will be here at Toronto Comic Con, right? So
yeah.
Mom and son of hell, right? So
yeah, we do a lot of good photo ops together, Mark and I. And people are pretty imaginative. They come in as our family members and all kinds of stuff, or dressed up as us, and it's a lot of fun to see.
Oh, nice! Like family portraits.
Yes, exactly. Awkward family portraits is the number one, I think.
All right, that's a lot to look forward to. So we'll see you here at Toronto Comic Con.
Yeah.
So that should be fun.
Looking forward.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll be enjoying the Tetley in no time.
Absolutely, and taking a bunch home with me back to Los Angeles.
Sounds good. Yo, that was Ruth. Stay tuned. Shortly, you'll be able to see her in the movie X's. I'm kind of curious about that one, too. And I am Sammy, host of My Summer Lair. As you've just heard, this conversation was sparked by Ruth's visit to Toronto Comic Con. Every year, twice a year, I issue a My Pal Sammy newsletter loaded with pants-worthy goodness and Toronto Comic Con joy. One newsletter in the spring for Toronto Comic Con and one newsletter in the fall for Fan Expo. I remain so grateful, so thankful for the last couple of years because I've covered both events as a freelance reporter for AM 640 Toronto. So on the radio and the newsletter, I offer notable notables that provide whimsy and playfulness, all designed to make sure your Toronto Comic Con is fantastic, to make sure that it was worth putting on pants for. You know what I mean? Sign up today at mysummerlair.com/subscribe or Google My Pal Sammy Substack. Sign up today. If you sign up today, I'll give you a heartfelt Vulcan salute from one nerd to another. Google My Pal Sammy Substack and you can easily sign up and get all the pants-worthy pleasures for Toronto Comic-Con. Thank you for listening to me in a Netflix world. Supernatural, yo.